All right. Before we go ahead and wrap things up today, we actually have a fan question.
Cool.
So I definitely wanted to read that and give an answer. So this question comes from Tacky Badge. Awesome name. I love it.
Cool.
So Tacky Badge, he says, "Hi guys, I would love to hear you discuss the chances of seeing Fantastic Four or X-Men characters in the Marvel Cinematic Universe one day. Do you see a scenario in which a deal could be made with their studios similar to the one which was made with Sony lending Spider-Man for Cap 3? Maybe a huge Secret Wars series of movies once the current slate of Marvel Cinematic Universe films has finished." So what do you think? Fantastic Four and X-Men, do we ever actually see them coming to the MCU?
I have got solid hopes that this Fantastic Four movie that's going to come out, I hope it's worse than it looks.
Worst-tastic Four.
Yeah,
That's the name.
And I think it looks terrible. And I don't think it looks... we'll get into that some other time. We've talked about it before. We'll talk about it again. I don't want to waste 20 minutes now why I think that looks terrible. But I think the movie looks terrible, and I hope it's even worse than that. And I hope it bombs terribly, and at that point, I hope Fox completely abandons Fantastic Four, and it'll still be like a decade before Marvel gets it back, probably.
Yes.
But I am fully convinced. I like a lot of Fox's X-Men movies. I'm real excited about this Deadpool. I am beyond convinced that they have no idea what to do with the Fantastic Four, and I wish they would stop trying.
Yes.
And I actually am a supporter of the original movies they did. They weren't perfect by any means, but I don't think they're nearly as bad as people make them out to be either.
I agree with that.
I think at least at the core they were going in the right direction. But this new thing that they're trying, where they're just trying to make it another X-Men or another Batman or whatever, it's not what I want to see out of the Fantastic Four ever.
No.
You know, Fantastic Four joining the MCU, I think, is a legitimate possibility, because if Fox keeps getting curb stomped on these movies, you know, then they're going to eventually just stop trying. But it's going to be so far in the future, I don't even know what the landscapes are going to look like.
Exactly, yeah.
As far as the X-Men, in a perfect world, and I just got finished saying we can have whatever we want now, and that's the great thing about geek culture, and I'll backtrack a little bit on that. It's not impossible. We're seeing it with Spider-Man, so we can see it with anything. I don't have any real hopes of mixing the X-Men in. I think the universes are set up to work on two different...
They are.
Of a spectrum.
I agree with that.
You know,
yeah.
and so I don't think they would mesh that well. And I think the X-Men universe is so established at Fox because they have had success with it. And more importantly, almost, I would say that they've had failure with it and then come back to success. So I don't know that that's one that they're ever going to really feel like giving up. And personally, I am excited to see how the Sony collaboration works, especially because it involves Spider-Man. And I'm really confident that Marvel will make that work, but I'm also cautious about that because Sony's done some really good Spider-Man movies. They haven't done one that I've hated. They've done a couple that were kind of bad.
Yeah.
But I even found things to like in those, you know. So I really like a lot of what they did with Spider-Man, but I think, Marvel's home, and that's where it's going to do it right. So if they can acknowledge now, okay, we need to let these guys take the reins, and if this works, that's going to be amazing and awesome, and I'm really excited about it. But there's that part of the back of my head that goes, somebody somewhere is going to have enough power and be full enough of themselves to think that they can just step in and make it better, and it's going to ruin the whole thing. So I'm kind of scared. So I would not want to even see Fox try any kind of collaboration with Marvel until the Sony thing was a wild runaway success. And to be honest, no matter how much of a success the Sony one is, I kind of don't want to see Fox get into that realm anyway.
Yeah.
The more you cooks you got in the kitchen, the more people are stepping over everybody's toes. At this point, I am comfortable having an X-Men universe and a Marvel universe, and I don't particularly feel the need to mesh the two. Now, 40 years from now, if they both run their course and they both stop happening and something happens, maybe. But as far as the way the current slate is situated, I'd rather just keep them separated.
I feel exactly the same way with X-Men because even in the comic book universe and everything, like even though they are all part of the Marvel universe and there has been plenty of crossover stories, the X-Men and the mutants in general totally fit their own little world. The stories that happen with those characters and everything can all fit in their own space. And especially with everything that's laid out right now in the MCU, with the big build-up to the Infinity Wars and everything, I just don't feel like there's a place to squeeze the mutants in. I feel like they're already so far along that that's just not going to work at this point. So I am totally fine with Fox maintaining their own universe with the X-Men characters. It's doing fine on its own. They don't have to be a part of the MCU. Now, just like you said, if somewhere down the road, after Infinity Wars is wrapped up, and they're done, and all that storyline's over, and Marvel gets the rights back, and they decide they want to do their own X-Men movie and start something, yeah, I would love to see it. I think it'd be cool to see Marvel's take on those characters and see what they can do for them. But as of right now, I'm totally fine with them being separate. Fantastic Four, we've talked about this before too. That's the first family of Marvel.
Yeah.
That is something I would like to see fit with the Marvel Cinematic Universe. And not only those characters, but there's so much tied to their universe that Fox is hanging on to with rights that Marvel could be using right now, especially with everything that they're doing. I mean, they already ran into the issue with the first Avengers where they couldn't use the Skrulls.
Yeah.
The Skrulls were supposed to be the invaders, and they had to use the Kree instead because...
Or the Chitauri.
Instead, and they're using the Kree now, too. That's involved with the Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. stuff.
Yeah.
But they can't use the Skrulls because the Skrulls are with the Fantastic Four rights. And, you know, they've run into stuff with, like, Silver Surfer and Galactus and all this other cosmic stuff that has direct ties to Fantastic Four that they could totally be using guys like Silver Surfer with all the cosmic stuff they're doing right now. But because he's with the Fantastic Four rights, they can't. So if Worst-tastic Four is as worst as we think it's going to be, and Fox decides that they're done with it, then yes, I really hope Marvel can scoop that up and find some way to make that work, and I would accept it.
And I really think, as much as anybody out there, even Spider-Man, I think Fantastic Four is one of those properties that Marvel gets.
Yeah.
Like, it's their baby, and I think they get it.
Yeah.
And I don't know that Fox is to blame as the sole studio out there that wouldn't get it. I don't know if any other studio would get it, but I think Marvel would get it. So as excited as I am to see Marvel really take Spider-Man, which again is I think a property that has had some justice done to it. You know, I think Sony's done some good stuff with Spider-Man, but it never really felt perfect.
Yeah.
It felt great for a while there, but there was always something sort of, missing. And I think, and we've seen time and time again, Marvel's delivered entertaining Thor movies. Marvel just delivered a really entertaining Ant-Man movie.
An Ant-Man movie.
If Marvel can make me care that much about Ant-Man, when they get Spider-Man, that should be mind-blowing. And I think Fantastic Four is one of those, we will never see the right Fantastic Four movie unless Marvel does get it somehow.
Yeah, I agree. I agree. Well, there we go. Hey, that was a great question, too.
So if you guys really want a good Fantastic Four movie, do not buy a ticket to the new one.
Don't go see Worst-tastic Four.
If they make money, they're just going to keep doing that.
I like how we're just rallying against that movie now. It's so funny. But awesome. Well, hey, thank you so much for that question. That was a really good one.
Yeah, very good one.
We'd love to hear from you guys, too. So if any of you other fans out there, any other listeners or viewers want to ask us questions, head on over to Facebook and search for the Geek Easy Podcast. You can just find us at facebook.com/Geek Easy Podcast. And you can post your questions there, and we will do our best to answer them here on the show. So topic suggestions, specific questions, anything like that, post them there. And if it's something that we can tackle, we definitely will right here on the show. I think that'd be great.